Hey everybody, welcome. Today we'll be looking at designing canvas buttons with Adobe Spark. And you'll see that here we're on the dashboard for Adobe Spark. We could click the plus right here to get started, but I think we can just hit this quick shortcut to custom size. And since we're creating a button at 200 by 200 pixels, we're ready to go. We could also grab popular social poster print across the top right there if we needed to jump to a size that we're familiar with. Okay, so we should open up a canvas to work on now, and you'll see that we open in templates here, but you don't need to use a template if you don't want to. You'll also note that the menu over here on the right changes as you're working. It's contextual, so as you're working, you'll see text options pop out when we work with text and so on. For purposes of today, we'd like to start with a background. And I think I want to start with a tile background. So something that looks interesting on the back of the screen right there. And so you've got tons and tons, literally hundreds and hundreds of options. You'll see that some of them have a little gold tag on that. That's just, yeah, a thing. So I think I'll choose this sort of broken look. Now sometimes this will fill the entire screen, sometimes it won't, but you can add or drag as you choose right there to create the size you want. It isn't always an option to change the aspect ratio. So you can see this one's sort of preset. I can only drag it on the corners, which will maintain its aspect ratio. You can also see as we work that our guide will snap to the center to show that we're in the middle right there. Now, if I click add to background, this becomes the whole thing. And there is some kind of cool features here. If I click on background on this side, it will help me to lay out any of just multitude of different layouts for putting in images and graphics and text. But for our button today, when we click on background on this side, these at the top are kind of interesting. This one has sort of a frame around it, but this one will lighten or darken that bar in the center to help you maximize your text. So we'll click on background here and then click on this one with the grayed bar. The behavior changes on that. Sometimes it's slightly darker, sometimes slightly lighter. As you can see on this one, we lightened it. Now I want to add text to make my tile here. And so it'll open up some of these options. And I could just click add text and make it a headline. Or on the left-hand side, there are some pre-created text options where you can scroll through and choose the design that you prefer. And then these will be editable on your page. So it's kind of nice that you can do that. Looking at this one, I think this Into the Woods design is kind of cool. I don't know that I want to say Into the Woods, and so I'm going to modify this slightly to fit my content a little bit more. So for the purposes of our video today, I think I want this to be something more related to what I'll be teaching. As you can see though, over here on the right hand side, this is where I'll edit the text. It doesn't edit live on the screen right here. So I want to change this to a topic that we study often, and that would be equations. And I'm not really in love with this color for the purposes of our design today. So I'm going to drop that in and get it kind of centered up right there. And then I'll choose a color that I think is going to work better. I think this nice dark color right there will work. You can also drag this anywhere you want to collect whatever color seems to work for you right there. Now I've got some other options. Over here on the side, I can also choose if I want to apply a shape to this, a mask, or I can put a shadow on it. Right now my shadow is, click on that, it's kind of the same color as the text, which isn't really working for me. So I think I might want to try something a little bit different. So I'm going to stay with this and then choose my shadow. The shadow color is lighter, but with the lighter background it's not showing. So I think I'll try something slightly different. That seems a little too dark. So maybe something in that range to give me the shadow. I can also drag these sliders to move my shadow angle, and I can extend the distance that the shadow resides behind my text by dragging this slider. That seems pretty good. Looking at my outline, the outline can really help that pop, and I also have a color of choice here where I can make it a darker outline, which I think in this case doesn't help me much, or a lighter outline to help it seem to pop out just a little bit more. Now I want that to be a nice button right there, so I think I've got it set up. There are some other things you can do with this, like changing the background as you go, things like that. You can add a blur if you choose to help that sort of pop out a little bit more. If you choose something you don't like, you always have your undo button top center right there. I also have some different enhancements where I can change its brightness, darken things down a little bit, saturation, which changes its color, highlights and lowlights, which are kind of fun. You got your shadows you can change, which don't show much on this tile layout, and warmth, which gets it to be anything from a really warm color to something much cooler. So you've got all kinds of control. Sharpen will highlight the background to show it in more detail. So I don't think I want it to be very sharp right now. I think that's cool. Now, looking over here, here's a feature that you don't want to overlook, and that is the layers right here. So right now, I've got my equations layer on the top with my background right here. If I drag this down to be below that, eventually, sorry, it's not wanting to do that right now. It looks like it's locked. I can change my order, so I can put graphics here and have them on top of the background but behind the word equations, which gives me a little bit of layout control right there. All right, for right now, we've got a nice button. It seems to be ready to go. From here, I want to download that. You can see I have less choices. I don't have the option for an animated GIF image here. I can choose PNG, JPEG, or PDF. Remember that Canvas doesn't recognize PDF as a graphic format. So if you choose to put your button on a Canvas page as an image, it will only recognize PNG or JPEG. From here, I can select download, and that button will appear. It's called mypost.png, and I may want to rename that. There is kind of a nice feature here, though. Once I've created this button, I can jump back to my dashboard here, and my button will show, and I have these three dots where I can make this a template. And so I could call this Math Buttons, and then I can use that template to make more buttons like it anytime I choose. All right, so hopefully that's enough to get you started with Adobe Spark. As you noticed, tons and tons of options and tools. We barely scratched the surface in creating this button. I hope it was useful, and so good luck starting out in Adobe Spark.